When you purchase something, you have to justify it. Does it make economical sense? Does it pay for itself? Do we save money doing it this way as opposed to that way? Business 101. Forget about the politics. Business 101. You have to justify it. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. So, by now, everybody's heard about Doug Ford, his government, and the private jet for $28.6 million, I believe, but $30 million. And the backlash that he and his government got, which is well deserved. But I'm going to kind of defend him on this a little bit and then just rip him apart. I'm going to start off by defending on him buying the jets. And it's got nuance to it, okay? There's a little bit of details to it, okay? We've got over 15 million people in this province. The land is huge in terms of the size of our province. What's going on in the world today in terms of the uncertainty, the tariffs with the U.S., having to make new deals, new alliances with other people. It requires a lot of travel, okay? So he's right on that, especially now, like I stated, with what's going on with the economy, that we no longer can rely on the U.S., that he has to go, say, to Europe, Japan, Southeast Asia, whatever, even still continuing to go to the U.S. to try to make whatever deal we can, which is he has to try. He has to try, even though there's not going to be any deal, but also to going around the province to a certain degree. So it technically, in theory, makes sense to have a jet that you can get on anytime to a certain degree. However, the way he went around doing it was like, it's like is he new? Is this his first day on the job as a politician? Like, what I would ask him is, Mr. Ford's, what would you think was going to happen buying a $30 million luxury jet, luxury, non-luxury, but it's a private jet. So in the eyes of the average person, it's a luxury. What do you think was going to happen? Do you think people were going to say, "Oh, yes, makes a great idea. Let's buy it." When everybody's struggling with the cost of fuel, cost of food, housing, jobs, uncertainty of jobs, people being laid off, they don't know if they're going to have one in a year, 6 months. You need to be prepared, especially with an opposition in politics, that they're going to pounce on you on this. Again, I don't understand how he didn't think this was going to happen, or that he didn't really care, or that he was going to be able to easily brush it off. If it makes sense, which I don't know personally, because I don't know the books. I don't know how often they've gone on planes. They charter planes, because right now at this point, they charter when they got to go somewhere. So you rent one, okay? So you have to plan it, say in a week or whatever, we're going to book it, we're going to go here, we're going to be there for a day or so, and whatnot. What does that cost? Should have brought it, or should have had the paperwork ready, or the data, okay? And this is all about Doug Ford and him not caring about numbers, data, or information. It's all about feelings. I feel I need a plane. He should have had that information ready. Should have said, "Hey, NDP, hey, the general public, voters, this is why the government bought this plane. I understand it looks bad. I understand it's a jet, and you associate a private jet for luxury and this and that. But we're traveling so much this year. For the last 3 years, 4 years, we're projected to travel more because we have to make new deals, new alliances. We'll be traveling further, more often. And this is what it's going to cost to charter, even what we've paid for the last 5 years, what we're going to be paying for the next 5 years, and so on and so forth. And this is what it costs. And this is what it costs to buy a jet, insure it, crew it, store it. And this is what that's going to cost. And as you can see, I'm going to save you guys money. We're going to save millions of dollars, $100,000, whatever it is. You have to show that it's worth it. With again, going back to business because he's a businessman, right? When you purchase something, you have to justify it. Does it make economical sense? Does it pay for itself? Do we save money doing it this way as opposed to that way? Business 101. Forget about the politics. Business 101. You have to justify it. So if he was able to justify this, that I understand NDP would have said, no, we don't need it. This is foolish and so on and so forth. But the average person would say, yes, that makes sense. But he didn't do that. So one of two things. Either he's really dumb or he knew he couldn't justify the cost because it was cheaper to do charters than to buy a private jet. Because he flipped real fast. So I don't know if there's something else going on. If there was also plans, and that's why he's so gung-ho on this Billy Bishop Island or Billy Bishop Airport on the Toronto Islands. That's why he's expanding it to do jets now, so that he have the convenience of the private plane right across the street from where he works. That he doesn't have to travel to Pearson or wherever. Maybe he's still thinking about himself and not the taxpayers. But I'm trying to be charitable to him to a certain degree, where if it made sense, why didn't you show the paperwork? Why didn't you show the numbers? Because the NDP, the opposition, wouldn't be able to argue against cold, hard fact numbers. So this is insane. Like this idea that the excuses he's giving, which again, I'm going to restate that he needs to travel. No one's arguing that. It's the cost. You have to justify. And then he goes on to the latest comment where it's embarrassing that Ontario doesn't have its own jet. Talks about how he's the victim. And I hate people when they play the victim. Okay. It just shows you guys or whoever it's just, you have no substance. You can't argue your point if you're just saying everybody picks on me. I want to call you Trump. You're not as bad as him, not even close. But that's gonna be like that's a trump cards. You're pulling a trump card, the victim. That's how the media is picking on you because you bought a jet, whereas the federal government, which he explains they should be, because they got to go all over Canada and internationally more often than a premier does. But also that Quebec bought $105 million worth of jets. I think they said one used one and two brand new ones. So I go, interesting, $100 million in planes. Like, yeah, I'm wondering why that's not big news, because that would be big news all over Canada that the Quebec would buy 3 planes for $100 million. So again, I'm not going to assume, but that doesn't make any sense. Let me look into this. So I tried to do my own little research, try to find the articles. There were a bunch of articles, okay, about these planes. Of course, in French, because it was a provincial matter to a certain degree. And I'm wondering, why is it only in articles in French or French media? Like if this was big news, other people would have picked it up, something in English that I could read. So I tried to make it out as best I could, remembering my French from grade 9. Like they were talking about something medical, okay? And then the pictures they were showing, like ambulance, air ambulance, like, oh, it's not looking good. And then, of course, CBC wrote about this. It's like, oh, great. And, they got more resources than I do. Let's see, what did they have to say? So CBC goes, on Monday, after the government backtracked on the plane purchase and said the jet would be sold, which is another problem we're going to get back to, Ford said he was the most scrutinized person in the country. He questioned why there hadn't been similar scrutiny applied to the Quebec private jet purchase. Great. Okay, let's see what they're going to say. So we asked the Quebec government about the jets Ford was referring to and whether the Quebec government owns a private plane for the premier's travel needs. A spokesperson for Quebec's transport ministry told us the premier does fly private, okay, but on chartered flights. Okay, just like Doug Ford. Okay, so that means they don't own a plane? There is no government plane for the Premier's exclusive travel, according to a spokesperson for the Premier's office. They said the jets Ford were referring to are used for medical transport. Huh, interesting. So they spent over $100 million for medical transport planes, which is understandable. It's for the people. For the people, not private travel when you want, where you want, with no questions asked, especially now Doug Ford is going to take the Freedom of Information Act away, which would also be another problem with this private jet. But it's for the people what Quebec spent the money on, not personally. Technically, personally, I know it wasn't physically for Ford, but to buy one so it was more convenient for him. So, like, that's another question I have. Like, dude, is this your first day in office as a politician? Why wouldn't you? Did he know this story and try to throw out fake news? Or did he not ask the right questions? And someone said, yeah, I know Quebec bought 3 planes for $100 million. And said, oh my God. And then ask for more details. Or someone said, yeah, they spent $105 million, but it was for ambulance. And all he heard was they bought planes too. Dude, like, how are you the Premier of Ontario and get into trouble this easily on something that's so easily avoidable? It boggles my mind sometimes. Like, you need to do better. You need to do better. And getting back to this, now they're going to sell it. It's a loss. You lost money. You blew money. Ontario taxpayer money. It's gone. Who knows how much is going to be with, like he said, that they're going to sell it for no less than what they paid for. Good luck. Anybody knows when you buy something, the more it changed hands, it's lost value. Now, I don't know anything about private jets. Maybe it doesn't lose as much value as, say, like a typical car. When you take it off the lot, everybody knows that. There's other factors as well. Demands, availability, and things like that. But with the way things are, no jet fuel, issues with Iran and everything else, fuel and whatnot, no one's buying that jet. So we're going to have to sit on it. How long are we going to sit on it? How long are we going to have to pay insurance to sit on it? How long are we going to have to pay to keep it maintained? Because planes are not built to sit. They're built to fly. The longer they sit, you have to still maintain them. You have to do service, you have to do inspections and everything else. This, I don't know a lot, but I remember someone telling me, someone who flies and has his pilot license, and they're saying that planes cannot sit. They're not designed for that. And then even though they sit, you still have to do maintenance on it. So there's storage, maintenance, insurance, and everything else. So depending on if we take a loss on the price, okay, we are losing no matter what, unless he's able to sell that plane for more money than what he paid. We've lost money. And of course, the NDP says, he should pay for the difference, which never going to happen. Never going to happen. But we lost money. He blew money again, just like he did to spend $75 million of Ontario taxpayer money to send and create advertisement to show the American people why tariffs are no good, which pissed off Donald Trump, which caused Mark Carney to have more difficulties in negotiation, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes it blows my mind, the ideas that this guy has and how it's unbelievable sometimes where people, how they're able to be successful in life, which I'm not surprised because, we make stupid people famous. Prime example, Donald Trump, who's always fallen up. People are just lucky. And Doug Ford, I think, is just another one who's just been lucky in his life to a certain degree. I'm not saying he hasn't worked for certain things, but man, a $30 million jet in this climate with a cost of living, and you don't have your numbers ready to defend your decision, you would have been fired in any company if you made a decision like that. Well, anyways, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree that's technically a good plan, but he should have had his points ready to defend it? Or do you think this is really basically just all just he wanted something for more convenience, especially with the Billy Bishop Airport Islands being upgraded, that he was just thinking for himself? Anyways, guys, take care. We'll talk later.